And I have one more brother that lives in Chesapeake, Quebec. So we've been scattered. We don't know what it's like to call somebody mom, ikawi. I don't have those words. I've never said them in my life. Or no tawi, to call somebody father. So I don't know what it's like. I'd really gotten lost. Today I'm very blessed. I'm very rich. Not in money-wise, not in home-wise, but I've been blessed with 27 grandchildren. And I have 6 great-grandchildren. The work that I do, I didn't choose this work. This work chose me on how we're going to recover. In 1985, we had an epidemic of suicides. We put Cross Lake, Manitoba on the map, not because of Ernest Monias, because the world knew what Cross Lake was. We lost 49 young people through suicide in 28 days' time. That's a lot. In 1980 is when suicide came into our community, our reserve. Prior to that, we didn't have suicide. Many diseases started to come into our communities. Diabetes. We know when diabetes entered our community. It was in 1978, the first case of diabetes. Heart diseases began latter part of the 80s. Obesity and many different elements. Heart diseases. And I wanted to find out why. Why is this happening? I come from a community of almost 10,000 people on reserve. When they evacuated, they're now making their way home tomorrow. Over 7,000 people evacuated from Cross Lake from the forest fires. And my grandchildren are along with those ones, eh? So it's in this time we gathered 39 of our elders to come and sit with us. We wanted some direction, some guidance from our elders. But they couldn't comprehend this word. We didn't understand it, nor our elders didn't understand what suicide was. So we had a feast, and we asked for guidance. Out of those 39, we didn't get one response. They didn't know how to guide us. All I know, we've tried many things. We tried many programs. These programs is not the way to recover. These Moniawak, when we go to school, they're programming. We're always being programmed. And that's not our way. Our way is the land. How are you going to recover your language? You need to eat the land. You need to work with the land. To bring that value back, many things that occur, who are we as peoples of these lands? We have our own creation story. Moniawak, they have their own creation story. Comes from the Bible. It's sad. Everywhere I go, I see so many churches. I'm not here to talk about which religion you follow. We share two things in common as Nehewak. And this is what I want to work with you with. Foremost, Nuyak. Nehewak o maginano. We are the peoples of these lands. And as being a person from these lands, we all share this common value. No matter which church, which religion, which ceremonies you follow, we all speak the same language. The second thing that we all have in common, that we are spiritually poverty. Within this one, spiritual poverty, these are things that we wish to work with, to bring an understanding. Nistu tamawin. This nistu tamawin, that language, when you take a look at it, they say nistu, a trilateral process. There are many dictionaries across Canada in Nehil country. There's many colleges that proclaim that they have a Cree dictionary. Those are not dictionaries. They're a poor translation of our language. Awashime, ewan simiguak. We're going to lose the spiritual meaning to our language, and that's what's happening. The methodology happening within our ceremonial life, we don't understand them today. In order to understand these terms, we must now look into the language. I didn't choose this path. One thing I ask you guys to turn your phones off, put them on silent mode, and or that vibrator mode. I think that's what they call it. But anyhow, in 1987 was when the seed was planted in here. In the Paw, Manitoba, I was asked to be a translator. I was also at the First Ministers' Conference. During that First Ministers' Conference, we were making history. René Lévesque and Pierre Trudeau. Before we started, we had two tables, big long tables, and they all had these headsets on, and I spoke inside this mute transcriber like a cone. Before we start, Pierre Trudeau said, I want to remind you we are making history here. If you no longer speak your language, no longer practice your ceremonies, then you have no business demanding from this government of Aboriginal issues, because you've been assimilated to the ruling body of politics. And I didn't understand that. This is when I was working for Manitoba Indian Brotherhood. MIB. I thought it'd stand for Men in Black. So anyhow, I called the director over. How am I going to translate this? I don't know what a ruling body of politics. And he told me, naga. Kap mai tuestama tamanuma, kap mai tuetawa. Gichu gimagan, the Prime Minister. Homishito gichu gimagan. Kishasin na moya, awashimegi pigiswan, ginainuan. Mas kita isi chigetoten, isi chigawinagagi, miiguisiak. Kawiota, pepe tagomuta, kita isin niawin. Chigemasa, Egip maya wagan at tigawiak, ayamiawin igutse. In simple form, the ruling body of politics. If you no longer practice your language or your ceremonies, go take up your issues with your ministers and your priests, because that was the ruling body of politics. Don't bring them to this government. That day, they had Bibles on the tables. That day, I saw these Bibles close, that they wanted to pay attention. It took a Muniao to say we no longer have to be afraid to speak our language and to do our ceremonies. Already that was instilled to us. A lot of our people are going back to their ways. These things that you see, the violence, the gangs, the drugs, the alcohol, the suicides, we can't pray these things away. We can't pray them away. We have to take our children by the hand. For many years, we attempted to pray it away. It just gotten worse. It hasn't worked. These programs that come to our community, they're not working. They're not successful. Our institutions, the schools, and also the universities are trying to help recover our language. But it's not working. There's been over $30 billion spent on language retention in Canada. $30 billion. And they have not produced one Cree-speaking person. Us, we don't have documentation. We don't have a master's degree. We don't have a doctor's degree. But they won't listen to us. We have the know-how to recover. Muniao. If it doesn't come from a book, or a piece of paper. They don't want it. Everything has to come from a book. I'd never learned my language in an institution, in a square cubicle like this. We need our land. We need the animals, the birds, the fish, because these are our language. Many of our leadership says, "Oh, I sinyo kay giskimansichik." Giskimansiwin is a term of sovereignty. We are not sovereign. We're far from being sovereign. But our leaders keep saying, we are a sovereign people. We're far from it. We're about 150 years away from it. In 1980, Morley, Alberta, this is what they said. You're going to have to go beyond the treaties. And bring it forward. I remember as a young man, I was still sitting with people in these lodges that were born in the 1800s. That's all they ever spoke was the language. My chapan, Chawati, he was the oldest one to live 128 years old. And he was the last person to ever have long hair in my community, in Chapanoa. Hep mai sichiget. The moyayak, the gaskita the paskepisatu teisha. They will never break my connection to Creator. The last one that went was 10 years ago. He was 106 years old. Hegiwawi tapmak. Matutsan waginogan. Hegip ma chimustart. Kewayo. I see Chigawina. Yet told me the creation story of all these ceremonies and the reasoning why we do it. The purpose. And it gets back to the history. When they say the methodology practices, I had to find this term. We are stamita. It's another term I ever not heard. We are stamita. Behind you, be are stamita. We are stamita. Up ahead of you. Mistay, we pastay pagonagi si chiga chiga shinuak. Tapo tagaskita. Tapagonagi si chigeto taga si chigawina. Maga. Namoyo te tawigaskawatam. The methodology practices that are being practiced. My grandson, up ahead of you, you're going to begin to see these things. You're going to begin to see that people are going to do ceremonies, not even utilizing their language. There's a certain language that goes with the ceremony. Anybody can do a physical ceremony, but if they have no connection to the unconscious world, they will not be able to achieve it. These creation stories, the longer term, what these parables are. I sinuak. We shorten this by calling it Nehewak. We've had many labels throughout our history. Indian, Aboriginal. Ako minana magaito at sigete. Indigenous. Indigenous. These names gave birth in 1977. They went to go to the talks of the human rights in Geneva. How are we going to represent all these governing bodies? Because each reserve has a chief and council. There are their self-governing bodies. And there's well over, almost close to 300. How are we going to represent this? They said, we are going to go to these talks for our people's rights. Because in our history, we couldn't even attain a lawyer. We couldn't walk off our reserves. I remember the day that I needed a permit to walk off my reserve, just to go to the hospital. I remember those days. So this is how they said, we're going to go to the human rights in Geneva and represent our people as the indigenous people of the Western Hemisphere. And that gave birth to us, indigenous. We've been called band members. The word Cree, we're not Cree people. Cree comes from a term. Our knowledge keepers afforded us that. When they first came and began to explore the southern hemisphere in the United States, they saw these people of the land. They always seemed to dwell by waterways, rivers and creeks. They came upon a big group of people. These are Creek people. And this is the term that they gave them that label, Cherokee Creek, which is now known as Cherokee. And when they began to further come north, there was no make-believe lines of provinces and, counties and stuff like that. It was all one. And I began to understand. There's a guy that has a really good translation. He lives from the paw. He's a doctor. And he says, I don't know anything, but this is my research. When they notice these ones, the Saskatchewan River, in all these different creek beds, this is where they come upon our people. Well, we can't define them because they speak a different language. But they're still Creek people. So they just simply took the K out. They're Cree people. That's where that term comes from. So we are not Cree people. All these ones up north, the smallest nations, they said for many decades we called them Eskimo, Eskipuchik, Eskimoak. They said, hey, wait a minute here. We are not Eskimo. We're not what these Crees are calling us. We want to proclaim to the world who we are. Creator had given us an identity, just like everything else has a name. We are the people of this land. They call themselves Inuit. Inuiti ai Sinuak. That's how we begin to translate that. And we saw Chipoyanak. These are Chipoyans, Chipoyanak. And of course, it's because their hood say Chipoge, Chipoyan. They said, hey, we're not what the Crees are calling us. We're not Chipoyan. We're not Chipoyan. We are Dene Hislos. We are the Dene nation, which simply explains we are the peoples of these lands. They have to proclaim, we call these ones Blackfoot, the Blackfoot people. I don't know why we call them Blackfoot in Canada. In the States, they call them Blackfeet. Why they call him that? Egip Mamuchik. In this burnt forest, there's black. And some of them ran with bare feet, without no moccasins. Etapasistawachik, Moniawak. And when they were captured, all of them had black charcoal feet. That's where the term Blackfoot comes from. See, these are all labels. And we're still saying, oh, be proud to be Cree. Eh? Be proud to be indigenous. So these are the stories I want to begin with. Where we come from, where our language comes from. This is where our creation story comes from. This lies in the northern skies. In our creation story, Creator created us last. And Creator didn't create with his fingers. He created with his mind. That's why in our ceremonies, Gagagi Simwak, Mamitoimik, Gisagi Aganak, think about your loved ones. And you know, you don't have to tell them, I prayed for you, you know. There's many terms out there that is upsetting to me. On social media, happy heavenly birthday. There's no birthday up there. That's only a term utaski. And again, just the other day, happy heavenly Father's Day. Moya, kagigep matsuno testo. Not here. These are terms that we use. You frustrate yourself, by putting this out there, eh? That you've not really finished grieving. And you hurt people by making belief. Again, these things, it is our responsibility to the elders. We have a spiritual responsibility to tell our young people. We have a responsibility, but our responsibility, we don't pay attention. We call these my responsibilities, and we need to rise. Kagagi simwek, When in prayer, I still see a lot of this. Our elders would say, how pasigok? We don't pasigo. That only happens in the Monia world. We humble ourselves. Tapatin so. To put your heart as close as the ground. Euguma tapate misoin. To put your heart as close as you can to our mother. But to stand up, constantly stand up, when you are given this, just stay amao. Oba. Kapagit na egawa. Tansi tagisutawa. Some refer to it as the dialogue of dialects. Istemao. Chistemao. Out east they say ustemao. So what does that give us? When I talk about parables, chimaskwe mui no dansi toemagage. And what you have been given the right as an elder. Tapaski te manuma tayo tenaman. To open it and to be able to close it. At any given time, this gives you the right. If you don't see it happening, shut it down. I see many band meetings happening. We pray to Creator. When you're given tobacco, your responsibility is to maintain the spiritual well-being of a gathering. When you see it not going right, many times at band meetings, no tarawi, pray. Kagi simuat. How? Ke machita. And then they start calling each other down. Ewa, we got the chick. Monsieur, I did the trick. It's the responsibility of the elder. Moyoma, asek gishitano. You've been given the ultimate authority beyond your leadership to make sure that this gathering functions well. And that same goes with ceremony. So what this actually word means is steamao. Thank you for that marker, brother. Nas kumitin. Oh, I thought we were on a tight budget. He gave me this one marker, it was that big. I said, I can score, so now this marker. So, what's that? Okay, what's our time like? What time is it? 11:12. Huh? 11:12. Okay, let's take a 10-minute break. Okay? There's some goodies over there. Help yourself.
All right, you guys, we're just on a quick break here, so we'll be right back. Give us a sec. Thank you for inboxing me and letting me know about the volume. We're working on it right now. It should sound good. Testing 1, 2. 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 There we go. Testing. Testing 1, 2. There we go. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4. Just to let you guys know we are live right now as we speak on IOPS on the YouTube channel. A little bit of feedback here. We did have a few people inboxing saying to fix the volume. Thank you for that. Testing 1, 2. We're just kind of had a buzzing sound here. One of my former students here from CWS. Say the hello, Danse, to everybody watching online.
Hello, dance everybody.
Introduce yourself, though, in Cree.
Dance Nia Shalasatusis. Ligigaton.
Hey, right there. That's what it's all about. We got Tyson Nicotine here.
Dance.
Yeah, do it, come on.
Tyson Nicotine Nichigasen.
There you go. Right on. Give Tyson a gold star. I'm just entertaining everybody online that's watching right now as we take a quick break. Check, 1, 2. Tyson's here for the check. But just you guys are watching online, we are live streaming Kakuishta Pao this weekend. Big drums are going to be there. The famous Alapun, otherwise known as Mailman, will be there. I've confirmed it here. He's here in attendance here. So he will be dancing his heart away for the people in Treaty 4 territory this weekend. Also as well, we'll be live streaming a golf tournament tomorrow. Barkay Consulting and Jackfish. So make sure you tune into that. None of you guys know what's going on. This is Red Pheasant Elders Association, a language revitalization project that's happening. Everyone's just on a break right now. Going to be streaming here for the next couple days. Got another band member here. Introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Della.
In Cree, or Soto, or Lakota, Dakota.
Cree.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, Nehio.
Here, she'll introduce herself, and that's just how you can do it. Go ahead, introduce yourself again. Okay, here we go.
Della Sigaswan.
There you go. There you go. Sounds okay here, eh? Now it sounds really good. Testing. 1, 2, 3, 4. When you live stream, people think we're good at audio, but we're not. And we're always good at the camera stuff, but not the audio stuff. It's a different thing. But it is working. Which is good. That's all that counts. So give us a sec, you guys. We'll be right back. Just on a quick break here. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2. Testing 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13. 1 2. Testing. Testing 1 2. That sounds way better, eh? That crackling is gone. Yeah, I knew it was the cord.
Hau, eko sise. Kawigi tome te machi tago ma. Hau guma. Hapsi se wiata tamano ma. Agoma. Achago isko agita ogoge. Muni au misi sniga teo the Pleiades. And they sit in the northern skies. And the northern skies, all our laws, atayo gewina, utega tu temagage. Inigo get my chago agoma kipigis koino. Ginto itap mana nagoge. Agama skigoche, amegimawak. And these priests were the Jewish community. In 1987, we went and sat with these Jewish people. There was 4 men that accompanied this elder. This elder had a hat on, and he had curls coming down the side. And I wanted to ask him, I had this burning question. How did you guys recover from the Holocaust, of your genocidal period of what happened to the Jewish people in Germany? And he began to speak in his language. And he began to share with us. He said, we share similarities with the Indians of Canada. And back then we're still using the label Indian, so I was okay with it, eh? Because back then I didn't know who I was still. And this is what he said. In our homelands, which used to be our homelands, they gathered all the Jewish people up and they put us in this compound, a concentrated camp, all fenced in. And this is one of the things that we share with you people. Did you know you guys are in a makeshift compound? You have a traceable line, a make-believe cage. They call that iskunigan. Leftover lands that are undeemable to survive or live. These are reserved lands. And they kept you in that cage to merely starve. That you couldn't leave these lands. And the ones to keep you in those lands, the Queen sent his workers called the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. And they still are around here. So anyhow, the last time I saw my grandparents, my mother and father, they were being hurtled into this chamber. A siren went off. Last time they were dragging my mother through this gravel as they threw her body and her remains. They had gassed my people to death, but they spared the children. You could feel this energy. as all the children held on to this fence, it would just shake violently. See, that's what happened to our people. They took all our lands. We no longer have lands. That is why we harbored into Canada. How we began to recover. Said, the only thing we had left was our language. We had to turn to our language in order for us to begin to recover. You have a God-given language. There are certain parables and paradoxes that are in your language. Your language is going to help you recover. When we began our recovery process, we didn't turn to the Germans to help us recover. We were left with our language. We have many spiritual scars, emotional scars, physical scars. We will carry those scars for the rest of our life. But how we recovered was through our language. That young man, I can only tell you, look into your language, because your language is a God-given language. Ea chago agoma, kirawi tomagon, kawe mioyawin. It's gonna recover you. That day, that Jewish elder planted a seed in here. I began to look into my language. This is how we began to recover. All my grandchildren speak their language. They don't learn it in school. They learn it at home. The problem is these institutions, they'll teach your children. But when they go home, the parents don't understand this. What's this guy saying? You know, we don't understand him. And that's what their viewpoints are, right? In Fisher River, Manitoba, all the workers, all the social assistant people, they have to go to school with their children twice a week. So they're learning it. We got to stop playing victim to our language. I don't speak my language, poor me. And that's where they leave it. Poor me. This is how I began to recover my language, was to go to my elders. Tansu I see toina. Kego mamatot san gai chigatek, mpagwe simui gamik. Kego no masapot tawan gai chigatek. Kego no ma pagagos isi chigewin. And they began to, in order to understand these terms, you're going to have to tell the creation story to those ceremonies. Because they were designed for us to help us recover. That's why in this language initiative, and how to translate that language initiative, we was kawi tataman ni pigis nan. Don't turn it into a program. We don't need to be programmed. It's in this time, I'm going to use the word chistemao. The language is very unique because aspatemoina are the dialects. Your dialect comes from your land. The animals that you eat, the air that you breathe, the water that you drink. That's what gives you the dialect, the Y dialect. Everything is in common value. When we say no, moya, out here, moya, the TH dialect sounds like this, moza. The N dialect sounds like this, muna. The L dialect sounds like this, mula. All these ones have a common value. It's just you have to recognize where these things come from. The elders say, Kisasnuma, kitataskan, nante chikitegiuga, kintegiugawa wakoge. Kakoya pachita, opigiskoinyo. So when I do presentations in the James Bay area, I have to develop to honor their language and begin to use the L dialect. Same thing up north here. I have to be able to speak that TH dialect. Manitoba, the N dialect, and out west here, I have to be able to utilize the Y dialect. Tau inanisto tatoek, ke gono mag-aspatemo tutamek. Kakigoge, e magosechik, michuan, kasamegawian, eugoma, kaut naman, kaut nigain. Always begin to try and speak that. So this just stay out. How we understand it today is simple. Tobacco. A Latin term meaning a big leaf. That's what tobacco means. So, just stay out, or istemao. When I talk about parables, they're shortened. What is the value to it? Because I see a lot of ceremonial men. They don't honor this, especially elders. And same thing with those prints. And I begin to understand. Today I am napaskite nentun. Chigamao Simeon Euchapansian. That's what gives me the right to speak. If I don't have grandchildren or great-grandchildren, I can't even use this word, no sim. Patasyo titis kamanyuma, tau Simeon. And there's a certain language you cannot use. This is the elders' language. Apagutin is the longer version, eh? This word, agamemo. But I see a lot of social media and our young people utilizing that word. That's an elder's word. You can't use that. There are 3 terms of reference here. This one and this one. We're going to break this word down. The foundation. Tantegau tu temagagiu ayawe chigawina chimaskwe muina is how you'll understand it. How nusim ewi ayawe chigian. What they're saying is, I'm going to tell you in a shorter fashion. I'm going to shorten our language. Maga kawinisto teno. Eugo ayawe chigewena. Chis is the first word, huma, number 1. The foundation, tanshuma, kakinok, itoniwak. There's 2 words. Number 1. Istawel, chistawel. This chistawel, it's like this. Oh, you hear that echoing? So this begins to, word tells us echoing. Chistawek. This next word here, number 2, talks about this one here. Utapepe. Okay. What about pink? You like pink? Let's go with this blue one. All right. This talks about chistawel. C-I-S-T-Ta-well. Can you see that now? It's in 3D. So chistawek, the very first thing, it has an echoing effect. This next word here, te, is a short version of mitte, which is heart. Number 3, this parable, they refer to it as Maumushtigewin, talks about the prayer. Maumushtigewin. So when we utilize this in ceremony, chistawegoma kitegoche ki maumushtigewin. That's what chistemao means, or istemao. It has an echoing effect. Kapitochik. That one begins to echo throughout these 4 Neogichigi Shigawa to our Creator. Agope gono makapagit natawa. That you're now being thankful for what you've been given. And that's why we honor them. It's going to have an echoing effect. Always. So Ego sigagip mayache mostawi chuguge. Ngetemak. Because all I understood was tobacco. How get one oh chinusum. I just saw those other monkeys, what they were doing. I'm doing the same thing, you know. Monkey see, monkey do. Hapiuta ka chimustatin eisita. They began to teach me value of my language. The longer version, when we take a look at the sun, bisim. Bisim. The only thing we understand about bisim, it's the sun. Eh? Because bisim is a parable. This is how the longer version sound. That's what it means to us. The one that puts the finishing touches on Creator's creation. That's why we honor it. A lot of children today, back then, were born with what they call yellow jaundice. Before any science came onto this island, what did they do when a child was born with yellow jaundice? Simple. They put the baby on a cradle board out in the sun to put the finishing touches on this creation. So this is a little bit of the knowledge. It takes well over 4 years to tell you the creation story. The shorter version is 4 days. The meteor version is 4 months. And they refer to this as Sapukutawan. This Sapukutawan sits from the east to the west. They refer to this now as the Law Lodge, Creator's Law. I'm not going to use all these different color pens because my friend here is kind of colorblind. I'm just picking on you. Okay. This word here, Kagi Simuin. Itegagi Poche Pagit Niga take Matsuin. Nehope Matsuin. They referred to this in astrology. We're going to use a common term, astrology. They try and figure out what these universes. We could go, Mawasagod Sinamak at tayo gawin tansi sinistut tamagoma. Magiyaw. They know that this world here, we call this aski. Aski gigishigamino. Our solar system, where all the stars, the spiritual markers, the sun, the piscaupi simhuapana chak, kyopa tenu, uteshe. Our solar system, uteshe pimiska tepayuma, it goes in a clockwise fashion. The Little Dipper, the Small Dipper, and all those other Atayogewina, the spiritual stories. So this is our solar system. Euguma aski gishigao. Aski ugi shikuak. This is how we came. This is where we're living today. There is another universe that is connected to here. Awino tagata shiget. Who dwells in the second universe? Now, uteise naspati pimiskate payuma. This second universe goes counterclockwise. When these two meet in friction-wise, this is where they would refer to this. Eutitawes katumagage, nchitawes kamatuk. This is where nchitawe or ditawe comes from, that term, because they're always connected. This is where this one dwells. Musum and kukums. The musums and kukums. What does that word mean to you, musum? Huh? Grandfather? Anything else? Huh? Grandmother. See, there's those two terms. In our language, they don't mean that. These are shorter version language. Echimasi tago bikiskoinse. So we're going to translate this one, Mosum. It's not a grandfather. It's not a physical being. It is a spiritual word. So when we say Mosums, the term is O, Mu, Eska, Si, Des, Da, Ma, Gil. Omushi Testamagil. So when we say the one that feels on behalf of what I carry in my heart, that's what we refer to as Mosum. So it's not a grandfather. In this world, once you have a grandson, a granddaughter, go Simeon, always. They'll expose your love. They'll expose your kindness. Namoyo igakin gisiki to tau nusya make. Atang gaski tantaga gishi kito tagik. But I don't spill that. I deal with them out of love and the most kindness. So, this is not a grandfather. Omushi testamage ogoge. I feel on behalf of what they carry in their spirit and their heart. And kukum sounds like this, the longer version. Ka, ku, mat, cha, gua. Ka, ku, mat, cha, gua. The closest translation to that is a spiritual comforter. And how Kukumino does that, when O Sima Sise Mateo Isagashik. My grandfather never ran there to go pick up this. No, chigo issue. We Sagashino go semino. Say. Just. So now, eh? Go on, you notice him. Go on. Puts it right to her heart. Eoguma. That is our spiritual role for Gokums, to always carry this. It's like a magician. Takes all the pain away. Brings him back into balance. So that's what these terms mean. Omoshi testamago is what we refer to as mosom. Kagokumat achagwa. That's why we call them gogum.
So when we're teaching our children these phrases, do I teach my daughter or mother kokoma, how do you say it?
Achagwa.
Jagwa. Kokoma jagwa.
But you don't, what you do when you're teaching this, you bring the spiritual understanding to these terms.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
So do I tell her, my children, this is how you...
Not the little ones. They spiritually know who you are already. So they come to you, eh? They'll come crying, ooh. You know? They know where to go. You know? Their spirit knows where to go. It's when they begin to become older. They simply disconnect. And when you call a physical, it's only, that's my grandfather. Boy, he's just my grandfather. He's an old, saggy, baggy looking old guy. I got no use for him. When you say Masum, and listen to this word here. I'm going to say a phrase for you. Nikawipan, my aunt that became my mother after my mother had passed on. Nikawi singitao. Hangoshes tante pe ototein. Tante otote talks about where your heart came from. Tante ototeyan. And I would say, Nimosho meek. Nimosho meek. The language has a connection for you. It says, Nimosom o meek. The blood. We're always attracted back to that blood lineage. Pegon no go meek. That's the long. I'm now gone to reconnect. And this is why it's so important, these terms. Mitsi. They say, Nitsanak, Nitisanak, Mitisi. That your lineage is here. And that's how you go and connect. The way they connect your children. When children have babies, when women have babies, they'll put that baby on your belly. They don't hand him to you. They make this connection. Because these two spiritual connections happen through belly buttons. Then they take the baby and they cut the cord. And this is where the relationship of spirituality comes from. So again, we need tamanachi tago aisitoewina, because this is how you begin to understand. We can say all these words and get lost in translation. And that's what we are. We're losing it in translation. So the next world here, there's a third universe. They're trying to figure out our stories, our spiritual stories. There's another one here, the third world. In the biblical sense, they call these the four heavens. They have their own story and understanding. This world here spins clockwise now. So here is where we refer to as O, Ki, Se, Go, Wak, Ogi, Segoak, dwell. And sometimes they sing them in those songs. Ogi, Segoiskoyak, Ogi, Segoisis. That is why we hear this constant reminder. O, Ki, Se, Go, Sis. This word we use in our children. Nape sis, isque sis. So these are the ones we call upon, the penatawiwechik. That's why they refer to it, the third round is going to be the healing round, eh? We don't heal. I always say I'm not a doctor, but I'll take a look. You know, it's the medicines. I don't heal anybody. I don't doctor anybody. I utilize these ones, the medicines that I gather, Muskegee. They come to utilize that. And that's why we allow them to do the work in our ceremonies, because it's a spiritual process. So, Neogichigi Shigawa, this last world, we don't know this world. This is where Mama Taima Gautapit, better known as Creator. We don't know of this world till we go home. It comes from this world to this world to this world to this world. That's how we receive it. Neogichigi Shikawa, this is the term. Egonyu Kagagi Shimutama Kagi Shimon Kagi Shikawa. That's why we refer. When you bring your offerings, we don't keep it. We offer it for you through the pipe, through our prayers. Then we give it to the Musums and Kukums. In turn, the Musums and Kukums now take it to this level. Ogi Shiguak. And Ogi Shiguak take it to our Creator. And in turn, the prayers come back. So this is how Neogichigi Shikawa, they refer to this as Askigi Shigamino, Anishkegi Shiguk, Shipagi Shiganuk, Gichigi Shiguk. After, we only have today, eh? I think it's being recorded too, eh? So, reference to them. They're going to begin to develop the language, and it'll be there then, eh? Because if I wrote everything down, we'd finish our day. So, it's in these prints that they left us. One of the things that happened in our history, you're not supposed to record these things. You're not supposed to write these things. You can't take pictures of them. That's what we were told. And people still, our own people said, don't ring. Don't write that stuff down. Don't record it. There's a new way of learning. And the reason why they said this to us, our people like to tell on each other, eh? They ring. Hello, RCMP. They're drinking next door. And there's kids there. Get CFS. But you live in an apartment here, they're drinking next door. Do you phone cops on them? Oh, yeah. It's a total different law. So here's where it begins. I want to now break the cycle. You write this stuff down. Manachi tamasa. Record it. There's only certain times I don't allow people to take pictures. It's a time of ceremony. Manachia tayogan. Wista kikamayachi eisichinke temak. Many times I like to go live on mainstream while I'm in the sweat lodge. But no. Again, in the olden days, I always want to make note to you that I'm not proud to be treaty. These treaties have brought many devastation. It has oppressed our language. That is the reason why our young people don't speak it, because of these treaties that oppressed our language. They no longer can connect to the ceremonies because it was the treaties that oppressed our ceremonies. They no longer are lost. They have a different trend. They wear their hats backwards when their hats are supposed to be forward. They wear their pants right down to here, and they have a funny walk. I saw a gorilla walking like that in the zoo. You know? And they're lost. They're trying to connect to somebody, but our elders are not helping them connect. Egeta pago tamwa chika isi chigawina. Pugutawi tapago tamot une nue winawa. Opematsiwin. We have to create these spaces for our young people, because culture is language. Ceremonies are language. A way of life is language. And our connection to our homeland, 4 things. That's what we're going to have to utilize. So it's in this time that I begin to understand how come do we use this? What do we refer to as? Because right now, I'm a Nehill. Nehill man, proud. What's that mean? I think it means east, south, west, and north. It doesn't mean that. It talks about where life came from. Neogichigi Shigawa. Where's my helper here? Can you kind of paste these up somewhere so they can have access to look at them or even take pictures of them? Yeah, take them off as we go. How life begins with us when we talk about these diamonds. When we talk about the diamond structure, Oh, those ones have stickies? Oh, right on. But you're making a mess. This shape here, how do we say diamond in our language? I don't say diamond. Diamond mature. Ka. She. P. Ka. Ki. Ke. Yak. Ka shi pi ka ki yak. And where this term comes from, miawigo mo to temagan, miao, the body, the human anatomy. So, they refer to this when you are born. And science has already given value to this. They refer to this as upoipan. There's 3 stages. They refer to this as the fontanel. Unuskati peon, some refer to it. Kanuskati pet. Kyopa tenmana, uskiawasis. Tenepa gaute nigumene. It pulsates, eh? Because there's an opening. There's 3 stages to this. Very first stage, they talk about this as Upigo pan. Upigo talks about the spiritual residue of ashes. Ego tagishiwaga peochinitai gitawa iskotek, isko ote, the woman's heart, the fire, the spiritual fire. That's why they refer to it as Upigo pan. Our responsibility to this fontanel. Number 2 stage, they call this O, Pe, Ke, Pan. Why do they call it? Because your language is in detail. It is the parents' responsibility to help them close this fontanel. That's why we have the bonnets. The tumistigoneot, whether it's goose grease, duck grease, bear grease, to always keep this moist so the baby doesn't get cradle cap, eh? That you make a stick on it. So it takes 28 takes 28 moon cycles for this to close. So within those 13 days, each month evolves the 13 moon cycles. So every moon cycle, it takes 28 days. We're now in the air, the moon, the egg moon. the opening egg moon is what we call this month, eh? Paskiwa Ipisham. So it takes 13 moons. Of each 13, it has 28 days. So that's how long it takes for this to close. This one here, they call this the crown. I don't know why they call it the crown. I never had a crown. They refer to this as Chi Che Pan. Uchiche Pan. This portal here, gagagisimo in our prayer. Kapmau tapiak. This portal, kapus koguma, it's going up to our Creator. We know chiche. Mamo tai mau chiche. And we use these words ban. They refer to the temples, kinashipanak, nashipan. You're going to hear this word when another spirit imposes in your water. You become like this. When you put alcohol, drugs, negishwe pan, being disordered. So when you allow a spirit in there, so it takes 13 moon cycles. We call this, you see this key word, CP, and you always reference to your waters. Because 87% of your body mass, kisasing kitipasku neno kitipen, iniguk, kichibita tomitano, hey na neo, de pagopitano, iniguk egiskakwan ni piuta miawik. 87% of your body mass is made up of water. So this is the reasoning why it takes 13 moons for this to begin to close. And why do we help it close? Because this is the doorway that achaka beat to it. When your spirit goes in here, but you also have a spirit helper. We have 4 things. We have achak, mio, wintipawan, and we have a pawagan, a spiritual help. This is the one that talks to you. You'll say, okay. I'll give it to you right away, just hold on. So it takes this amount and this pawagan. So this is the reason why we utilize this in many of our beadwork, artwork, is this diamond. Talks about water. Water retains knowledge. When your water, like here, who has a scar? Where's your scar? Yeah. So right away, your waters go here, and they go that. This is what happened to me. And you have your story to share from the scar. That's why we don't heal. That scar, your waters, you don't keep it up here. Intellect keeps the information here. Intelligence throughout your whole body. I've not made reference to any of this from a book, except for this note. So getting on to this, Science has now proven this. In about 30 years ago, I was doing a presentation in Toronto for doctors. They called it cultural sensitivity, to get to know our people. So 30 years ago, I was talking to doctors and physicians and nursing staff. And as I was presenting the star blanket, why we use these symmetrical diamonds, excuse me, I have something profound to say. This woman stood up. I said, my God, we work with a lot of people, Indigenous communities in Northern Ontario and parts of Quebec in the James Bay area. Every time I've been a technician for the Toronto Metro Hospital for the past 28 years. And I'm an ultrasound technician. Whether they're 4 weeks to 8 weeks, I look inside their bellies. For every Indigenous woman that comes there, I know right away, before the fetus begins to grow, I see this perfect diamond. Whether they're Caucasian, Asian, or black, their fontanelles look like that. Eno tamao istigonechik. Yo tamao is what we refer to this as oval. So now they're profound. They know us when we're that small in our mother's belly that we are nehewak. So with that said, I think she wants to sing a song. Or do a dance.
That is amazing information. Like
Here.
our biomarkers. We have
Here.
biomarkers. That's like, that is profound. Thank you for that teaching. I just want to talk about lunch and how the rest of the day will unfold because we had a late start. We'll have lunch at 2. That's when the restaurant will be ready for us. And then Iksama, that'll be the day. And then we can reconvene. Well, we'll discuss at lunch what we want to do for tomorrow. For me, myself, I would like to carry on as scheduled. But like I said, that'll be up to you guys as a group. And I really want you to ask questions. Ask Jeff questions if you don't understand something or if you want clarification. I really, really encourage that. And we want to take a 5-minute break if that's okay. Go have a cigarette, refill your coffee, have some watermelon. It's a lot of information. It's pretty intensive stuff, so our brain can only take so much in one day. You go ahead. The agenda is the same for tomorrow. Ralph will be presenting. He's going to go into the teachings of blood memory and kinship. It's really very good topics that he will be discussing. So, yeah, like I would like to keep moving forward. That's just me, though. Like, I want to hear the teachings. But like I said, this is your guys' group. You guys lead it. I'm only facilitating and getting stuff kind of organized. Today wasn't. He'll be here who, Jeff or Ralph? Ralph will be here next 2 days. Yeah, like if you guys want to shift to a later time in the day, I think we're okay with that, right, Ralph? Hold on.
Jeff is the only one that has to come today. But on that Thursday, Friday, next week, it's up to you guys.
Well, why don't we come after the call?
And yeah, I know a lot more what he's translating, how to break down the words.
Yeah.
He tells more of the story, the background, the history of the language. I try to bring in understanding how we can understand that Hu, aho. Kitonge machitak. There's a term here. It reads, Utamigata kipigisquewin. And for sure sustainability, to keep our language alive, we need to begin to occupy space with our language, not just artwork. We need our language. And one of the things that I understand about the Utamigataman, kipigisquewin, my daughter, my 3 grandchildren, she has these little notes in her home. For her children, She has these little notes, and she begins to put these sticky notes on the wall, on the floor, in the corner, with this language. So she'll write on a note here. They say, okay, ke goma. And she'll write there, mochitagak, mochitagak. So my grandchildren are beginning to take from that occupied space, occupying that space with language. The wall, asitagak. The corner, umotai. This corner, kakakitagak. The ceiling, ispitagak. So when she calls these things, how? Utnigota, pamichigota, mochitagak. My grandchildren start picking up their toys to clean it, Kayota mashinege, asitagak. Don't write on the walls. O aste nigana, kaispitagak, astewa. Kagagitagak, kisasmokiwin, nanaitawino. Egotegante ni point. You're going to go stand in the corner if you don't listen. So my grandchildren would say to me, no simak, Mushum, mommy ate then. Kegoma kaga mi eataman. Kaga gitagak, because they have to stand there. They get do tag, okay? I don't like this place at all, okay? So it's beginning to occupy, even in the washroom. Wap mon. Tau wap mishon. That's what they refer to us as the mirror. Everything has that, Like on intiga anosim. Kutak. What's home? I know how to speak Cree. I said, well, what do you know how to say? I know how to say toast in Cree. Well, how do you say toast in Cree? No, Sim. Says, dost. Dost. So I find him funny, I go big no Sim. When we say it, Mushum. Kegorima mosquito. Doesn't know what a mosquito is, Ayaw na kaita, chignita, sagimes, ka. And she thinks it sounds funny, mosquito. There's no toes on that, So again, Uma, utami tak, Kipigiskwewin. To occupy your language. Write it for your children. Because sooner or later they'll say, Mushum, come. What's this? That's when you draw. You release that knowledge to them, eh? So again, this story comes from my grandmother. Where it comes from, and the foundation to this word, when they were in reference to Wakotun, there's many things there. Where does this word come from? And I was one of these guys that was slow learning. The Monia world tells me I'm illiterate. I have a literacy problem because I can't speak very fluently in their language, eh? So I'm illiterate, better known as Kakepatsoa. You know, he's stupid, unteachable. And, but enter into my world, the tides will turn. You're the illiterate one. Doesn't matter how many degrees you have, enter into my world. You're the illiterate one. Our foundation of teaching, when you go to school, get your degrees, you're being programmed intellect. You're an intellect. That's all you know how to use is this. Our language teaches us about intelligence. And there is a difference between intellect and intelligence. When my grandfather said to me, "No sim kisashnuma, minta ni mogoman, ako machigaigan, kagaskita na upmeuta, pigotsay tap machuan." If I were to give you an axe and a knife, are you able to survive out there? And I said, no, I will not survive out there. How? I'm going to teach you this way of life. Today, my age, you give me a knife and an axe, I will survive out there. Initaw sitan, tagonaganak, mina pagigin, e pagigin gasuan. Mina, tawipuna masuan, ega chisi e paigan tapachiak, buschwak, eu sitanis koteo. Agasko at sapi, pastepichikan, nagoganiapia, yapachitan tanago tagmusa. This was the way of life. Ta sige se mito tigian. Mito sapuan. Siga teoma. To go and find the highest beaver dam, kapus kopitaw. E pus kotigataman. When it rushes out, misa chicken no sewak. Gaski tanya wata. Euchimitsuan. Askik. That's how I was raised. So I know how to survive out there. Natugo maskikioatigo. So this term, when we talk about wakotuan, When we use this phrase win, it talks about we win, that there's a law behind it. That's why we use sagito win, tapate mituin, kesteituin, wichituin, nipogawin. All these things have a law to them, even kaki simuin. Every one of them. But they're in balance between the dark laws and the laws that give life. You're going to hear this word. Nsiwanachi ituin, machitona mituin, kagoi mituin. All these ones have a dark law. You're going to hear all these win, win, win. And it doesn't mean the casino to go and win. So win, where this word, the foundation, comes from. Because we were encased in water. So when we do this, this word is the foundation to these little eggs. They call them fish eggs. They call them wakonak. Comes from this word. Wa go nak, meaning fish caviar, fish eggs. That's the foundation to this. Wa go nak. And the reason why we miyaga sigiak is egauchipegis kamagota, epinigwe siagota. Namoya kagauchipegis keno asigogana. What are asigogana? They're fish scales. We have nothing to protect us. So egonyu isiwin. This issuing is energy that you attract, and it begins to stick to your skin and infest your waters. Well, I was told, you're going to hear this word issuing, kishiwasiwin. You know, meotishiwin. Good energy. If I walked in here, where you guys going? You guys stupid. Threw some chairs around. You're going to feel that energy. And a prime example to this energy is when there's a wake service. You're out in the hall, you're laughing, smoking, just. And once you walk into that room, that energy just hits you. You can't smile, eh? Right over there. You have to go into this energy of sadness, eh? It does something to your waters. And our elders say, miyagasigan. The word miyagasigan talks about me, ya, ga, she, gan. Miyagasigan. The very first word that you hear, it's this. Mia. Giving it life. Tapskuchu mai. Emiaitan. It's giving you life. Because we don't have protection to our skin. This next word here, I need a color pen here. I'm going to use this word. Who speaks the language? You? What does this word mean to you? Asigan. Huh? Sock, yeah. Simply, you're putting the spiritual sock to break down energy, to not allow energy to come in. But when we use this colonial word smudge, this is smudge. That's what it is. So our young people are not understanding that, to break down the molecular structure of energy. Once you use this eagle feather, because it has a permanent static charge aura to it, meaning once you do this, you begin to break down the structure of bad energy. With that static charge, you remove the energy. Once you take a shower, all this energy gets washed away. You know, you get into the shower, once you get into that water, you know, it lifts your energy. That's what this smudge, miyagasigan, is supposed to do to you. When we say wigask, it doesn't mean sweetgrass. The wigaskutain, to surpass from one energy into that other, the wigaskutain. Same thing, the wigaskugemuan, to be able to call to your ancestors, atayugan, okay? So once we translated as sweetgrass, I just love the smell of the sweetness, you know? We don't get it. Our young people don't get it, eh? That's why there's a spirit within this language. Emiaitan, emiaigoshian. Ako ashigantageskawat. The spiritual protection of energy, eh? That is the reason why our people smoke hide on their shoes, so that they don't step on any energy. That's the reasoning behind that. Not, smoke, you know. It's not just a pretty smell, it's to break down energy, so that energy doesn't embody your waters, eh? So again, this wakotuan, there's another term that they utilize with this. They refer to this as wa ku me tu win. They almost sound the same. Wakotuan, wakomituan. There are different terms to that. This one has to do with the land. Kaisiwago tamanaski. Agoma, this is the bloodline. Miku mae. This was broken for us. The bloodline. When I was just a little boy, when somebody passed on to the spirit world, we had to sit still. And they began to tell us how we were bloodly related to this person. Through that blood lineage, eh? And we were always told that when I was taken away, this is what happened to me. 16, almost 17 years down in Albuquerque, New Mexico. That's where I was raised. That's where my language went to sleep. I couldn't speak a word. They said, Jeff, we want to repatriate you back to your people. What's repatriate? I couldn't understand that language. Jeff, you know that you're an Indian, eh? I said, no, not me, man. I'm Latino. I'm Mexican, you know. because I needed to belong to somebody, to a place. That's who we are. Our young people don't know that, eh? One of the talks I gave in Moose Lake, Manitoba, I saw this boy walking down the road like this, his hood on. I said, "Stop, do you want to ride?" I said, "Where are you from?" He says, "I'm from here." "What's your name?" He says, "Edward Campbell." "Who's your relative?" "Who's your relatives?" Moose Lake. "I don't know." So I took him. I said, "Come with me. Come and have something to eat at this gathering." And just, "Did you have breakfast?" He said, "No." I said, "Well, come and have breakfast." I said, "I'll give you a few bucks if you do something for me." He says, "How much?" "I'll give you $50 just to come with me." Eh? So he came with me. And I said, "I want to present this young man to you. Does anybody know this young man?" I picked him up on the road to come and feed him here. "Does anybody know him?" I always see him in the morning walking. Don't know who he is. Then they asked him, "Who are your parents?" And he said, "I'm Edward Campbell, Doy. This is my mom, Victoria and Albert." Boy, ito siya. There was 14 elders that were directly related to this boy. And they didn't have a clue. They didn't bother him, eh? Just some young person. That day, that gathering shifted, and he went sad with his elders. And that's how he began to connect. Big you going on. Never go hungry. You know where we live now. You come over. To this day, that connection is still strong. That's how you begin to connect our young people, because they don't know who they're related. And one of the things that happened to me when I came back from the United States, I walked home. I was in lockup. I'm not ashamed to tell you my story. At the age of 14, my brother died from gang violence. They killed my brother. And I took revenge on his death. At the age of 14, I ended up taking a life. And I was in lockup. At the age of 17, I escaped custody. And I walked home, walking across the border in the middle of the night with my older brother. This is how I came home. I came home to look for my mother. Came home to look for my father. I didn't know what they looked like. Today, I knew I was coming home. I was coming home to my rightful mother, because she gives me life every day. That is what I understand. No tawi. Came home to my father. And that's who I call now when troubled times come. So in this time that I couldn't speak my language. You got to awaken your spirit. You were born with it. Our elders say, never pray about strength. Don't ask for strength. Don't pray for love, kindness. You were born with these things. You just got to look for them in here. Once you find them, that is when you begin to utilize them. While out on a fast, my very first fast at my musum, they call this ni pagwewin. Out here in the West, they call it one sisuin. And how I translate that is to go and get lost. I'm already lost. Why do I want to go out and get lost? Ni pagwe nawa, to be taught from up here. 4 days I sat out there, and I was scared. I was really afraid. And I thought something was going to swim across to this island and come attack me, a bear, wolf. I thought something was going to crawl out of the water, talk to me. I thought something was going to have, flying saucer was going to come down, aliens were going to talk to me. I didn't know what was happening. But for those 4 days, I didn't have no dreams. So I said to my musum, after I broke my fast, had a feast, and had a sweat. Waste of time. Yet told me to think about 2 things out of my fast. The day you were born. The day you were born. The second thing I want you to think about is, why were you born? Why were you born? I was 49 years old when I figured out why I was born. The gifts, the gifts that had been given to me. I began to understand. They've already created a path for me. That my belly button cord was hung on a tree. That you be dependent on them. All these things are now beginning to make sense of how they created this pathway for me to be here today. When I was given this name, Gaskawat Noigimao, the closest translation, the one that's able to penetrate the frost of something that has been frozen in time. You know, I wanted like standing buffalo with an eagle on its back. But I didn't get that name. I had a hard time understanding this. This name is going to guide you for the rest of your life. And this is the proven history of my name. This is the reason why. En tunaman, egimiskoti gataman. There are ceremonies that have been outlawed. 99 years was the one that we began to resurrect back home. They call that Nishkishimoin, the goose dance. And I began to understand. He says, I'm not saying do it right away, up ahead. Took me 49 years to begin to do the ceremony. That's why they say, Papia Taknosim. I had to gather the songs, gather the understanding of Niska. These ones that came, the ones that are passing their life on to us to live. Niskena. The parable to that is Niska. So it's these parables when I began to look into the language. So in this time I want to share this creation story to our language. They call it Neheopigisquewin, Nehenoewin. All because we have, can you guys see those little signs there? No? Can we lower some lights or dim some lights? Okay. All right, what I want to do here, I want to call you guys up front here so you can actually see this. It's not going to take long. I want you to see these signs. You can bring your chairs. Yeah, you go ahead, right? Sit down.
Stay close to mother on the ground.
Doesn't even show up there, does it today? Dote makayasu makakiuche manachi tamata kukuma. I brought this time when my grandmother, her grandmother, told her the story of where our language comes from. And I utilize this in my teachings, I'm not going to get into Achagi Pagan, so, because it takes, the workshops that I do are 4 days long to give you an understanding to these worlds. Who was given this task to name? We talk about this, our spiritual teacher. I went and laid some tobacco to speak of him in this time, because we don't speak of him when the grass, it's only in the winter times. That's when we begin to speak about our brother. I had to lay tobacco down this morning in order to speak about him and what he had left for our people. They call this one Uisage Chak. And what does that mean, Uisage Chak? We've been told he's a trickster, he's a conjurer, he's all these things that he's not. Listen to the words, Uisage Chak. Uisage Achak. Kita Uisage Achak. The closest translation is a loving spirit. And he taught us that we sagiagok, achagok, esiachagu magagaski, to love the land, the four-legged, the flight beings, ginosewak, all these things. And it teaches us ka sagipagak. You hear that? Sagipagao. When the leaves began to bud, that language is sagikige, sage, to love. Our love comes from the land. And when we don't have a connection, we don't carry any love. So again, this was the work of Uisage Chak. Kutawine gitat, haungusis. And Creator has a lot of helpers. Bieshu, Bishim, Yotin, minamistos. When we say yotin, what does that word mean to you? See, you don't have a connection to that. Yotena. That's what it means. Right now, habita gishiganuk, eyu tenama momagak. It's opening for spiritual occurrences to happen. That's what spirituality is. You don't see the wind, but you can feel it. You can see how it moves those trees. You could see all the flight beings utilizing this. Kagagi Simon, Yotin has to take that out that doorway. Okay? So that's why we utilize it. When we breathe it. This gives us life. That's why we honor it, Because that's what spirituality, being able to understand the unconscious world, the things that you can't see. Love doesn't come in a little golden ring here. I love my partner so much. I want to make sure she has 10 cords of wood. This little band of ring here won't keep her warm. She'll freeze to death. So we sageetzak, that's why they call it nei nuevin. Within these directions, this is the north direction, the south, the east, the west. These are in between. You often wonder why these ones sit in an X, like this. They use these spiritual signs when they sign treaties, because there was a spiritual intent that they didn't comprehend. So again, they refer to this as Giwetnok, and it doesn't mean north to us. The very first word you hear that is Giwe. What is Giwe? To go home. That's where we come from. The Pleiades sit here. The Achagugo Pinagan comes from this doorway, meaning the Big Dipper sits here. The Pleiades sit here. We call this, there's 3 directions here. The land directions always remain Giwetinok. There's a water direction here, they call this Kishipigamak. They call this Wapanuk. They refer to that water, Maamik, Katiship Maamemitik. And the other direction is Sagastewanok, where the sun rises. Over here, we call this, they follow the sun, so they say Apitagi Shiganok. We call this Sawanok, meaning Saway Chigawanok, where the blessings come from. When this doorway is open, everything comes to life. The water's thawed out, all the medicines grow. This is the reason why Nehewak, their doorways and their homes, Migiwapa, are always facing to the south. So they call this Kape na Timiwak, the water direction, not Timik, for a short version. Over here, they refer to this direction as Neka Pewanuk. And what that means is Nikawi te kapeot, to prepare me for my spiritual journey, to make connection to my ancestors. That's the reason our people bless each other with blankets, because every one of our ceremonies are covered. No patagwe tutamak. No patagwe, that we are spiritually covering it to connect to the spiritual world, They call this Sagitawak. Ego totagap Mishes Kachiwak, Umanipi, Kauchi Sagipanik, Sagitawak. And they call this, refer to it out west here, Bagishimotao. But the sun doesn't go down here. The sun, Kapmotet, right now, it takes this channel and the sun sets over here. It doesn't mean west. The winter months, it comes up, goes down right away. That's why we have shorter winter months, eh? So here they call this Dega Peonu Tau Sagit Tawak Pagishimo Tau. That's what they refer to this direction. 3 things. We know what's in those directions. It's not just looking at a compass. Hey Ralph, it's north. It's a magneto process. That's how they traveled. So again, this one here, the northeast doorway, we call this Apistiwa Panotao. And this doorway, this is where Kati Tawitik is what they refer to this. When the great winds come, Kamamishiotik, because it has to create and push this next doorway to open. So this is where these 4 sounds come from. Ute Apistisawano, the southeastern doorway. Over here is where the southwest doorway, Apistinega Peonotao, and the northwestern doorway, Apistikiwet Notao, is what they refer to this. So when you hear Neo, Neo, what's that mean? And what does Ena No mean? You hear that Neo in that same word, eh? Ena Neo. Neo, Ena No. So it's 8. 8 sounds. When we Sagetzak begin to do this work, how? Egoteo. We're taking 4 sounds from the northern doorway. Ka, ge, go. 4 sounds. From Wa Panutao, we take 4 sounds from here. Wa, we, wo. Agote sa wanutao, the same thing. Sa, se, so. 4 sounds. That's why we call it ne nuewin, neo. Over here, nega peonutao. We take 4 sounds from the western doorway. Na, ne, no. And the very first one that was given life was BSO. Eugunistam kagiusiato. Ta toskagot, ta pegimoni tat, ta ni taigige. Kagiogegon kaisiachagwag. Everything with the Spirit has to come to life. And that's the task BSU is given. Kapapagautsiget, papagauteo. Science has not figured out where this energy comes up for this to pulsate. They're still trying to figure it out. Maga, papagauteo. That's the one that gives that static energy to your body for your heart to pump. That's why we honor him. It gives you both the static energy, permanent energy. Once you stop pounding, your body's going to become cold. So in these south I'm in this northeastern doorway. Ba, be, bo. Ba, be, bo. That's the 4 sounds that we take from that northeastern doorway. In this southeastern doorway, they call this miginasho. They would take out a bit of miginak, the turtle. This one was to take the lead role, to connect to our people, to help us connect to those moon cycles. A lot of women teachings come from here, this doorway. So these 4 sounds that come from here, ma, me, mo. 4 sounds. And over here, I had to write this because I go into some schools that our younger people are not inclined to Romanography. So these are the sounds that come from here. He had to give a name, to everything that has a spirit, including the grass, the sediments of the land, a ski. We call it a shiski, kagiteo ski, pasagos a shiski. We call it gistikanaski. They know how to plant within these things, and they work with the land, eh? And when we say ashiski, you know that word, eh? Ashiski. What does that mean to you? Dirt. You know, it's always telling us to go back to the land. Ashiski, to go back to the land, because that's where it's at. Life is the land. Ashiski to go back to it constantly. So here, this is where I get saga bet that cha, che, cho. Cha, che, cho. And when he had begun to now, when he began to finish off the language, the northwestern doorway, and within that language, whatever you eat, those sounds come out differently, eh? And this Y sound comes from central, meaning, ya masuin, ya stasuin. This is now you're drawing this and wearing it in your waters, the knowledge, eh? And this is what the elders, ha nusimak, ewikistaigetotatan, ewikistaigian. It's almost like I'm going to now spiritually store this knowledge and your language into you. Just like me gestaigewen. Now, estaigein. This word, ha nusimak, ndo tawinachino, ewi ayami tagok. Ewi ayami tagok. Ayamig. Yeah. To draw it into their meek, to their blood. Ayamig. We don't use this old word anymore. We give it to the Christians. Ayamiawinyok, you know. Utayamiawak. Because they're talking directly to Creator. That's what they're supposed to do. Not mantu gussan. Ours, we directly talk to Creator now. So this foundation of the language is wakotuin. We're taking these sounds and we're just bringing them together. Tawagutu magage. So when we say tan se, ta Ne, se. How do we say berries in our language? Mean sa. Let's take a look at katapin no me. Me. Ne. Sa. Mean sa. The berries only start to grow. How accurate is our language? They start to grow here, and they stop growing here. You can't pick berries after fall or the winter, spring or. It's so accurate. It's so pinpoint accurate, our language. So this is where our language sits. All the sounds. Every part of your language is in the star. There is a spirit. What's our time like here? When we begin to orient the story of language, how spiritual it is. Our young people, how would you translate that, Nikamo? How, Nikamo? See, that's how we lose it there, eh? We lose it. Listen to the longer version. Nikawe mo. To make the sound that your mother had given you. Yeah. So when we say Nikawi, Nikawi is a mother. Out here, it's beginning to be diluted. Ni mama, or ni papa. What this word Nikawi means, I was lent life through her. No tawe, ka no tawa tamoit, the one that fends for me spiritually. Awa, no tawe. Eogo ka na tamoit, tapimachit, iskotagaskitan tapimachison, na chinitet, machit, and to pagitawat, no tawa tamoit. That's why we say no tawe. The one that fends for my life. We ask him for those spiritual things. The only time I used to pray, when I was sitting in jail or being in the hospital for getting beaten up so bad, oh God, get me out of here. When you go to the casinos, they're just rubbing that machine. Oh, God, come on. There's a lot of prayers that happen in there, eh? I want to share, before I get into this next part, I want to share what happened to me coming back. This is how strict my elders were. Wow, it's good looking, eh? I used to go and see my girlfriend. I walked 10 miles to the end of the reserve. And when she wasn't home, I'd have to walk 10 miles back. Now today, you use these things. Hey, I like you. It's so simple today. We didn't have phones back then. So anyway, when I came back, I saw this most beautiful woman. Oh, she was beautiful. She had hair right down to here. She just moved like the wind. And every step she took, I would go like this. Yeah. So I so get there. I didn't know anybody going home. But as I was talking to her, eh? And I couldn't eat or sleep after talking to her, eh? Boy, do you want to eat? No, Moya, not hungry. I can't sleep, you know. Like, okay? So pretty soon we're holding hands. So we're back here. Boy, she even gave me a hickey. And I walked around town like this. Let me see. So, and I was proud. Boy, that day I decided I want you to meet my kokum. I said to her, so I was walking, and it's okay for me to share this story because I've been through many situations. Boy, I took her and walked inside. She was plucking the ducks. No gum. So I was very proud that I had a girlfriend, eh? And she looked at her and who's your parents? She asked. Geraldine. And even that word Geraldine is just like, oh, Geraldine, you know. So she said, Noel and Frankie Trout. Huh? Nushim, Moya. Kiwago Magashiwagawa. Says, you can't do this, Granson. You're so closely related to her. Broke my heart. Chico Apine. So this was my cousin, for I didn't know. And this is a true story. You know, my very first love was my cousin. Very first one to break my heart. That was my first experience of a hickey from my cousin. But it's in this time that I began to understand. I recovered. I was grieving over my own cousin, eh? Because nobody told me of my bloodline. That time I was absent from my people. Today, I'm thankful and I maintain this because it's my responsibility to tell my children who they're related to. So many of our communities, first cousins are marrying each other. They're having children with one another. And it's not funny because they're now having deformed children. Some of them, they're born without this. They're born with poor eyesight. Their bones become deformed. We need to step up and tell our children who they are related to. That's the reason why I moved out to Alberta. I didn't want to go through this again. I'm not bloodly related to you. So again, listen to the sound. I'm going to sing you my grandmother's song, and you can record this. If you can capture it, use it. Apatita, they call this nistomawasuan. To make the sounds that you're utilizing your spirit, the baby spirit, and the doorway of that spirit. That's why we call it nistomawasuan. So listen. And there's no drums or rattles. You use your heartbeat to this song, eh? And same thing. To go to sleep, you know. You use that. Way ya way hey, way ya way ho, way ya way yo, 'cause away. mekono kishimaneto weya weyo weya ya weyo weya ya weho weya weyo kasawe mekono kikawina aski weya weyo weya ya weyo weya ya weho weya weyo kasawe mekono hogi shego esquel weya weyo weya ya weyo hey weya ya weho weya weyo nanasko matan kisimaneto weya weyo weya ya weyo hey weya ya weho weya weyo Goes to sleep. The part that we don't understand that our songs are so sacred. Our elders say, don't make songs up. Songs always have to be transferred to you. When you receive a name, you should be receiving a song. Same, kimanaste suina, waste suina, your colors have to be given to you along with that name. That an ancestor carried that same name as you're going to carry. That's how they connect you to the spirit world, is through your name, eh? But we don't know what we're singing about, eh? So I want to just take you why we make these sounds. See, way, yeah. See that? We're using the eastern doorway. Way, yeah, yeah, way, oh, eh. Way, yeah, yeah, way, oh. Way, yeah, way, oh. That is the reason every one of our songs are traceable like this. They know where they're calling these spirits from. Nigamona. When we create these sounds, a lot of the chicken dance songs, see, ja, yay, all these ones, Gosapa Chigewin, the night lodges, and also the Shirkten songs start from here. The Thanksgiving songs start from the west. Na na skomat, na na. E na na skoak. We're moving our prayers and our thanksgiving to the Ray. E na na skumuan, maimuan. So all of our songs are traceable using the star chart. That's why we say, that there is a spirit in your language. And that's what you have to pay attention to. Not this Monia way. They can teach you 3 ways about your language. The institution where they encase it in the schools and the universities. You can learn your language through the Christian way or the Pierce way, utilizing what Creator had given you, the land, the foods, the water, and the air that's there. That's the purest fashion that you can. And I tell you, I've been a caretaker of this for a long time. I've been taking care of this. This language belongs to you. And I'm just bringing it home to the rightful people. The universities are after this. There is a copyright on this. Because if they learn it, they're going to go and teach it and make money off of these things that I've suffered. It took me well over 27 years to begin to put what my kukum told me, eh? And this is the easiest way to learn it. We won't get into these Hatsagi Peganak because they sit within those 4 universes, eh? So, is there any questions? I know that we have 15 minutes. Does anybody?
In your speech before this, there was a word there, bagakos. I've heard of it when I was a child, but I didn't get told what it was about.
That's the giveaway ceremony. It's the skeleton bird that you hear in the wood knocking. You'll hear this, just like wood coming together. And in that ceremony, we now ask him to take this giveaway and the feast to our loved ones out there in the spirit world, eh? When you hear that, when you dream about it, that's when you have to move forward with your feast and giveaway, eh? To honor our people. Oh, pitos. Yeah, different. This one has no flesh on it, eh? Bagagos. Yeah. Any? If there's no questions, we're going to take a break till we go for lunch. But we're doing good so far. We're going to get into the rites of passage before the end of the day, eh? Because we have 10 rites of passage rather than just 4. And we have to pay attention to that. My next visit is to come and tell you about the children's ceremonies. And these children's ceremonies are very important, that we begin to create a path for them. Those are my next visit when we come together. More of the language and the star stories and whatnot. Not only these, and also these where they sit. Because it's not the James version I'm going to tell you, or the James Evans story. One of the things a profound elder that I heard speak, he comes from the Blackfoot Nation. How can these Moniawak pray and thank their God for stealing from us? How could they be in their right spirit for killing our people, for killing our language, they attempted to do that, how can they thank God for doing these terrible things? When you go around here, there's a church on almost every block, you know. They're thanking their God for the things that they have stolen that didn't belong to them. And I heard this from a Blackfoot elder, and I had to think twice on that, eh? I could never thank Creator for that, for things that I've stolen, eh? So with that said, we're going to take a break. I think it's raining outside just a little bit. I don't know. I don't know what the plan is. I don't have an agenda.